Unfortunately, there's a long history of regional Middle East conflicts, and the markets need to adapt to that. So that means there's a lot of historical precedent for how markets do digest these events. Now, what we can basically say is that such conflicts tend not to end a bull market in stocks. In fact, it's almost never happened. In fact, in 1990 and 2003, the outbreak of hostilities between the U.S. and Iraq actually triggered an end of a bear market and the beginning of an upturn. That being said, usually there is a reflex pullback in the markets. Usually it's brief and shallow. Maybe it lasts a few days or a week, and it's almost entirely dependent in the short term on how much oil prices go up. The transmission mechanism between turmoil in the Middle East and the U.S. economy and financial markets tends to be the oil price. Now, we've seen a modest jump in the price of oil, say 7% globally. That's on some concerns that maybe some global transport of petroleum products is going to be interrupted, but that is not enough necessarily to throw the U.S. economy off course. I think the complicating factor in the current environment is that the market was already struggling with a bunch of these conflicting cyclical signals, right? There was a lot of excitement about the economy gaining pace coming into this year. That started to look a little bit softer. Treasury yields have actually come down. We're not really sure exactly how strong the consumer is. And then you've seen these issues pop up in credit, which suggest a later cycle environment that have also knocked down bank stocks. So what's interesting to see, and what I will be watching, is whether the big tech stocks, which have taken on a lot of punishment but are not dependent on the oil price or global trade, if they can start to provide some support for this index right here. And the second piece is the rest of the world equities have really outperformed the U.S. for more than a year right now. Is this an occasion where that trend might actually backslide a little bit? And in fact, that has happened since the attacks on Iran.